Last weekend, I did a video on 7 footballers who have flopped and or underperformed so far this season. The obvious follow-up to a video like that, as many of you pointed out in the comments, is a video looking at 7 players who've broken through or seriously overperformed this season. Without rambling on for too long in the introduction, I want to make it clear that I'm only looking at players who are having by far the best season of their lives right now. Some players have gone from being very good to struggling to being brilliant again this season, but that is another video for another time. That is not to say all these players have made their debuts this season, they're not necessarily breakout youth players, just that they are having barnstorming seasons at the level they're playing at in comparison to any other campaign. Here are my 7 breakout stars so far this season. Lautaro Martinez. A footballer I've been raving about for a while on this channel, I thought Lautaro Martinez looked like a magnificent prospect at Racing Club. There was no shortage of interest in him in the summer of 2018, and when Inter Milan won the race to sign him, I featured the Argentine in my list of the 7 most impressive transfers of that summer window. Martinez didn't really explode into life at the San Siro last season, although he wasn't dreadful, bagging 9 goals in 35 games in all competitions. It's worth remembering that he's just a young lad though, who was still adjusting to a new club, country and culture, and that a season of bedding in was perhaps required. His compatriot and strike partner Mauro Icardi left Inter in the summer to join PSG, meanwhile Romelu Lukaku came in. Counter to what many had expected, that switch has actually worked wonders for the 22-year-old. Martinez and Lukaku have formed an old-school little and large partnership up top under Antonio Conte, bagging combined 36 goals so far this season. Martinez himself has scored 16 goals in 27 games so far this term, meaning he will soon double his tally from last season. The Argentine is an aggressive and intelligent striker, as well as being brilliant on the ball, and he's also had a breakout season with the Argentina national team. He has already won twice as many caps for Argentina as Mauro Icardi, scoring 8 goals from 13 caps in 2019. Martinez did have an excellent final season at Racing Club, but Serie A and the Champions League is undoubtedly a different kettle of fish, and he deserves a spot in this 7. Tammy Abraham. The second consecutive 22-year-old centre-forward in this 7, it's actually a pretty similar story with Tammy Abraham as it is with Lautaro Martinez, despite the fact they're completely different types of players. Abraham has already had 2 excellent seasons, but none of them at Premier League level. The Englishman bagged 23 goals for Bristol City in the 2016-17 season and 25 at Aston Villa last season, but both seasons he was on loan in the Championship. In his only taste of Premier League football, Abraham could only find the back of the net 5 times in 31 games for Swansea City. There was considerable risk for Frank Lampard when hanging his hat on Tammy Abraham as his main man up top going into this season then, ahead of a World Cup winner in Olivier Giroud and a Belgian international in Michy Batshuayi, but the Blues Academy graduate has repaid Lampard's faith in him 2 times over. Abraham has scored 13 in 24 in the Premier League this season, a tally which puts him 7th in the division scoring charts with a better minutes per goal ratio than Raul Jimenez, Harry Kane and Sadio Mane. That's no small feat for a man who has already doubled his previous best tally at this level, and Abraham is much more than just a goalscorer. Both his hold-up play and interplay with those around him is impressive, and it is consistently improving. He won 2 caps and scored 1 goal for England in 2019, and if Harry Kane does miss the Euros in the summer, my sneaking suspicion is that Tammy Abraham will be Gareth Southgate's starting centre-forward. Theo Hernandez. Even at the age of 22, Theo Hernandez is a man some people are ready to throw into the bin of discarded Real Madrid flops going into this season. In 2017, Hernandez was so highly thought of by the Real Madrid hierarchy that they broke a non-aggression pact with Atletico Madrid that dated back to the year 2000 in order to sign him. Los Blancos triggered the youngster's €24 million release clause to bring him to the Bernabeu, but since then, his stock has fallen dramatically. There's no shame in being unable to dislodge Dani Carvajal in the Real starting 11, but Hernandez failed to impress in his 23 appearances. He spent last season on loan at Real Sociedad, but unconvinced, Real decided to pin their hopes on Alvaro Odriozola as their long-term future right-back. During this time, his brother Lucas won the World Cup with France and became the 3rd most expensive defender of all time in a move to Bayern Munich, meanwhile an uncapped Theo joined AC Milan for just €20 million. It was an opportunity to revitalise his career though, and it's one the fullback has grasped with both arms. There has been arguably no finer fullback in Serie A this season, despite Hernandez starring for a struggling AC Milan side. Bizarrely, the left-back is currently AC Milan's top scorer in both the league and in all competitions with 6 goals, and a senior debut for France can't be far off. CAGLAR SOYUNCU. You can probably count on one hand the number of centre-backs who have been better than CAGLAR SOYUNCU in the Premier League this season, and that is some claim to be able to make about a player who made just 6 league appearances last season. SOYUNCU joined Leicester from Freiburg in the summer of 2018 for somewhere in the region of £19 million. Despite arriving for a decent-sized fee, SOYUNCU found opportunities difficult to come by as Johnny Evans and Harry Maguire formed a solid centre-back partnership, and he even featured in some lists of the biggest flops and worst signings of the season. When Harry Maguire became the most expensive defender to have ever walked the face of earth last summer though, Brendan Rodgers decided he would look within for his replacement. SOYUNCU has partnered Evans ever since, and the duo have formed an even more formidable partnership than the one between Evans and Maguire. SOYUNCU is determined, aggressive and sensational in the air. There are perhaps elements of rashness to his game which could be ironed out, but at the age of 23, that is of no grave concern. By and large, SOYUNCU has been a rock at the back for the Foxes, and for going from one of the flops of the season last term to being linked with a huge move to Man City this season, he's unfortunate, only to come fourth in this 7. EZEQUIEL AVILA. The top 3 scorers in La Liga this season are all pretty familiar faces. Lionel Messi is obviously top, Karim Benzema comes in 2nd, and Luis Suarez is in 3rd. The man in 4th place though, I suspect, some of you may never have even heard of. EZEQUIEL AVILA, better known as Chimmy Avila, hails from the same city as Lionel Messi. A quick and versatile forward who isn't afraid to try his luck from range, Avila scored once in 20 league games for San Lorenzo in Argentina, before joining Spanish side Huesca on a 2-year loan deal. He scored 7 in 36 as Huesca won promotion from the Segunda Division in the 2017-18 season, followed by 10 in 34 in La Liga last season. Following Huesca's relegation, newly promoted Osasuna signed Avila from San Lorenzo for a little over £2 million. The 25-year-old made a superb start to the season with his new club, netting 9 goals and 2 assists in just 18 league appearances. Whilst being linked with a move to Barcelona last month, Avila stated that he wished to remain at Osasuna and apply for a Spanish passport, which could be granted as early as June. Sadly, for a player who some thought might see his €25 million release clause met in the summer, Avila suffered a horrible cruciate ligament injury at the end of last month. The injury couldn't have come at a worse time for Avila, and it means he is highly unlikely to feature again this season. Nevertheless, based on his first half of the season, he has every right to make this 7, and we can only hope that he makes a full recovery and comes back next season like he's never been away. Adama Traore. The fact that Adama Traore possesses a rare ability to beat players has long been among the worst kept secrets in football. The Spaniard spent more than a decade at Barcelona, such was their conviction that there was a top-class player in there, before joining Premier League side Aston Villa for a potential €12 million fee in 2015. Just a teenager at the time, Traore made only 10 league appearances in a relegated Villa side, before joining Middlesbrough for around half the fee that Villa had paid for him. In the entire 2016-17 season, Traore failed to score a single goal and made just 1 assist in 31 league appearances. In 2017-18, he did come to life a bit in the Championship, and Nuno Espirito Santo clearly felt he could unearth the gem. Many had tried and failed, and following an £18 million move to Wolves, some may have felt that based on his performances last season, Santo was destined to join them. Traore again showed flashes of brilliance, but a lack of end product. This season, he has been a totally different animal. Only Kevin De Bruyne and Trent Alexander-Arnold have more assists to their name in the Premier League this season than Traore, who has also chipped in with 4 goals, making Wolves his 2nd highest scorer behind Raul Jimenez. No player averages more dribbles per game in the Premier League than Traore, who is also the 6th most fouled player in the division. He has always been virtually unstoppable in full flow, possessing tremendous pace, strength and control over the ball, and if he can continue to be this effective in the final third, it's a frightening prospect just how good he could become. The honourable mentions. There is no shortage of players I can mention here, but in fear of rambling for too long once again, I'll only mention those who came closest to making the 7 from my shortlist. They include Aston Villa captain Jack Grealish, who was excellent last season, but is now proving his class consistently in the Premier League, Marcus Rashford, who is having by far the best campaign of his career to date, not just in front of goal, John Lundstrom, who barely played for Sheffield United last season, but has been a key man in the first half of this season, Alphonso Davies, who is starting to make a real name for himself at Bayern Munich, Cagliari attacking midfielder João Pedro, who has already scored 15 goals in Serie A this season, and finally, Fede Valverde, who has had a bigger impact than I think anyone could have anticipated at Real Madrid this season, and I found it really difficult to leave him out. Oh, actually, and Danny Ings. How could I forget Danny Ings? He really ought to have been in the 7 if we're honest, shouldn't he? Oh well, now for your top spot. Erling Haaland. Among the easiest decisions I am ever likely to make on this channel, top of this 7 is of course Erling Braut Haaland. Now, this isn't Haaland's first good season, he previously scored 16 goals in 30 games for Molde, but that isn't really comparable to his current campaign. Haaland joined RB Salzburg from Molde in the summer of 2018, but made only 5 appearances in his debut campaign, scoring once. In the first half of this season, there hasn't been a more prolific player in Europe. Haaland struck 28 times in 22 games for Salzburg prior to his €20 million switch to Borussia Dortmund, where he has since scored 8 goals in 4 games, including 7 in 3 in the Bundesliga. It would be no exaggeration to suggest that just a month on from his arrival, Dortmund would probably value Haaland at close to 10 times the fee that they paid for him. At the 2019 Under-20 World Cup in the summer, Haaland scored 9 goals in a single game against Honduras, and that really was a sign of things to come. His combined Salzburg and Dortmund output this season stands at 36 goals from just 26 games. Age 19, the youngster looks set to rival Kylian Mbappe for the title of the world's best forward for a generation. Haaland is a man mountain already at 6'4" tall, combining strength, power and pace, in addition to his fantastic movement and finishing abilities. He had to top this 7. That's it for today's 7. Thanks for watching, give us a like if you enjoyed the video, and obviously make sure you're subscribed to HITC Sevens. Also, if you're watching on mobile, just try tapping your screen now, apparently that is sometimes required to bring up our little subscribe button and a couple of other videos that YouTube thinks you might enjoy.